Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission, as always, is to take this overwhelming complexity, all the reports, the data, the sources, and really just pull out the precise, actionable knowledge you need.
And today we are wading deep into modern corporate sustainability.
We're looking at a really fascinating case study, Hoken Tech.
Yeah, Hoken Tech is, I think, a perfect example of a company that exists right at that intersection of tech, scalability, and accountability. They operate in a digital-first world, which can make their environmental impact seem almost invisible. But as we're about to see, it is very, very real.
And we're definitely not looking at some glossy brochure here. We have Hoken Tech's dense 2025 Sustainability Assessment Report.
Right.
So this deep dive is built on hard, measurable data. It uses these really stringent metrics developed with organizations like Union Khmer and Dintech.
And that's what makes it so valuable. The report gives us specific scores across the environmental, social, and governance pillars, the famous ESG.
Exactly. And it measures their process maturity against global standards, like
Yeah.
the UN's Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, and the gold standard for disclosure, the Global Reporting Initiative, or GRI.
For a growing tech firm, sustainability has really evolved. It's so much more than just putting solar panels on the roof.
Right.
It's now about detailed data governance, transparent reporting, and, I think most importantly, effective execution across every single part of the business.
So our goal for you today is pretty straightforward. We want you to get a quick but really comprehensive understanding of where Hoken Tech stands. We need to figure out what it actually means to claim an advanced maturity level in sustainability.
And we need to identify the company's big operational challenges right away, the surprising pain points that those headline scores are, hiding.
Yeah, and we'll dissect exactly how their digital activity is translating into real physical environmental impacts.
The central tension we found in these sources, the real story here, is this. Hoken Tech has near-perfect planning capabilities. Their transparency scores are incredibly impressive.
They're brilliant at knowing what to do.
Exactly. But can they actually close that execution gap? Can they implement the excellent plans they've clearly paid for?
That's the question, and it really dictates their future credibility. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
All right, so let's start with the headline. The big news, Hoken Tech has reached an overall sustainability maturity level of advanced.
And that's as of January 2nd, 2026.
Right. This is the top tier of performance. It immediately positions them as a leader in their field.
That advanced label it's really powerful market positioning. And the headline, ESG scores, they support this rating pretty strongly.
So what are those scores?
We see environmental sustainability at 80%. Social sustainability is a little lower at 78%. And governance sustainability is also at 78%.
So pretty consistent across the board.
Very consistent. When you average those out, you get a company that's performing really strongly in that high 70s percentile range.
But the nuance, I think, lies in understanding what that advanced label really means in a management context.
Exactly. Especially when you compare it to the level right below it, which the report calls the aware level or concepivo in the original.
So what's the difference? What is an aware company?
So the aware stage is really defined by recognition. An aware company has sustainability policies, they have clear objectives they want to hit, and they have monitoring plans.
They've bought the manual, basically.
They've bought the framework, exactly. But the report notes that the aware company often lacks some critical points for a complete integrated management system. They tend to see sustainability as this separate project, a layer on top of their core business.
Okay, so if aware is having the policy manual, what is advanced?
Advanced is moving from that manual to execution and, crucially, integration. The report says an advanced enterprise approaches sustainability holistically.
Holistically. What does that mean in practice?
It means they're actively integrating ESG criteria not just into HR or their external comms,
Right.
but into their core decision-making, into their supply chain management, even their product development. And that integration is what's supposed to make them more productive and resilient in the long term.
And what's the practical payoff for getting to that level? It sounds like it's got to be more than just good PR.
Oh, it absolutely is. The report explicitly frames advanced status as positioning them to improve their corporate image, sure, but also to access new markets.
And for a scaling tech firm.
Access new financial opportunities. That's the big one. Advanced status signals to investors, to banks, to the green bond markets that Hoken Tech is lower risk and has higher long-term value.
So they're positioned as a case study of excellence.
Exactly. ready to compete globally on these sustainability metrics.
That context is so important for understanding the pressure they're under. And we also need to remember the framework they're being measured against. This assessment relies on a UNI standard.
Yeah, specifically UNI 134.2022. And this is essential because it's tailored for micro and small enterprises.
So it's not a framework designed for, like, an Exxon or a Microsoft.
No, not at all. This standard is designed to be applicable and really relevant to companies that are growing, but still focused on their local footprint.
And what's the core goal of that standard?
It's highly localized. It's about helping these smaller companies recognize their specific role and, critically, their specific impact on the territory and society where they operate.
So it turns this big, abstract global problem into a tangible local responsibility.
Precisely.
And it's interesting, the report notes that Hoken Tech isn't new to this. They've been scrutinized like this before.
Yes, the source gives us a historical baseline. In 2024, they actually achieved an excellent rating in reference to this same standard.
So they were already at the top of their game.
They were. They have the pedigree. They have the established policy framework. They aren't struggling because they're new to this. They're struggling despite having a very strong historical foundation.
So you've got a company with an advanced status, a history of excellent performance, which makes the specific failures we're about to look at all the more, shocking.
It's a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah. If they are so good at planning and policy, where are the critical friction points in their day-to-day operations?
That's what we have to solve. We've established they have the intelligence, they have the intent, but the data quickly reveals a company running into major resistance when they try to turn that intelligence into action.
Okay, so where do we start?
We have to get into the environmental data because that's where the most compelling story is.
All right, let's do it.
So the environmental sustainability score is a strong 80% overall. But, as we always find in these deep dives, that overall score is a disguise.
It hides the details.
It masks significant variance in the subcategories. It points to very specific pain points that I think threaten their entire advanced standing.
Exactly. And when you look at the operational data for 2025, the picture gets darker immediately. Let's look at the raw physical output from their digital work.
Okay, so in 2025, Hoken Tech reported total energy consumption of 969.89 kilowatt hours, and the resulting co-euro footprint from that energy use was 376 kilograms.
And just for context, the estimated cost of that energy was tiny, right? Just over 135 euros.
Yeah, which confirms this isn't some massive industrial operation. It's a highly focused, probably small scale, but data-intensive tech office.
But those numbers, 969 kilowatts, 376 kilograms of co-euro, they can still feel really abstract.
You can.
But the report gives us this brilliant way to conceptualize the scale, and this is where it gets really interesting for you as a listener.
To make it relatable, the report translates this impact into equivalences. So that 376 kilograms of co-euro is comparable to leaving a single light bulb on for 2,020 straight days.
2,020 days, that's nearly 5.5 years.
5.5 years of a light bulb burning continuously. Or it's the carbon equivalent of driving 2,688 kilometers.
2,688 kilometers. I mean, that's roughly the distance from Rome to London and back again.
Exactly. That is the real-world weight of their digital activity.
That really puts the operational reality into perspective. It forces you to realize that even a small, data-focused firm has a tangible physical footprint. But the shock doesn't come from that 2025 number. It comes from the comparison to the year before.
This is it. This is the core data point that challenges their entire advanced status. In 2024, Hoken Tech reported only 311 kilowatts waters and just 121 kilograms of co-euro.
Wait a minute. So from 121 kilograms to 376, that's a 212% increase year over year?
A 212% increase. It's a monumental triple-digit jump.
How can a company with advanced status and an excellent rating from the year before have its environmental impact more than triple in 12 months?
It's the key question, isn't it?
I mean, doesn't that immediately invalidate the credibility of the whole assessment?
It creates a massive volatility problem, and it certainly threatens that credibility. It suggests that whatever operational controls they had in 2024 were just completely overwhelmed by their scaling in 2025.
So what does the report say? What caused it?
The report, to its credit, offers three possibilities. One, higher operational activity. They just grew faster and used their resources more. Two, a different measurement scope. Maybe they included more assets in the calculation this year. Or three, major infrastructure changes.
But regardless of the driver, the implication is the same, right? Their existing sustainability processes could not handle corporate growth.
That's it. It reveals a huge structural flaw, the difficulty of maintaining a stable, low footprint while you scale up. They scale their digital product, but they fail to sustainably scale their internal infrastructure.
It's the moment of truth for their entire policy framework.
It is. Measurement is a start, policy is mandatory, but when scaling hits, performance is all that matters. And a 212% spike signals that their environmental management system, despite its strong planning scores, essentially broke under pressure.
So let's look at the specifics. Let's examine the submetrics that show where the system actually broke down.
Okay, the lowest score across the entire report is right here in the environmental pillar.
And that is circularity, scoring just 50%.
50%. That is a massive operational deficiency. Circularity focuses on how well they manage assets, their sustainable procurement, and how they reuse resources.
For a tech company, that's e-waste, right? Servers, peripherals, IT equipment.
Exactly. It signals a classic linear take, make, dispose process. They're buying new equipment when they could be refurbishing. They're sending old components to general waste instead of into a proper recycling stream.
And that deficiency directly fuels the high Curura spike because they're constantly creating demand for new manufacturing.
And that 50% score is just. It's non-negotiable proof that their environmental implementation capacity, which we'll get to later, is critically weak. You can't have a high circularity score without flawless execution on the ground.
We see other low scores too, though not as bad. Water consumption is 65%.
Yeah, and while that's maybe not the primary concern for a digital office compared to the circularity gap, 65% still shows there's significant room for improvement.
And waste management is 75%.
Which is decent. It suggests they probably handle general office recycling, paper and plastic, pretty well.
But that 50% circularity score tells me they probably struggle with the specialized, complex, and potentially hazardous electronic waste that a tech company generates.
That's the likely interpretation. The easy stuff, paper and plastic, it's a 75%. The hard stuff, refurbishing proprietary hardware, managing complex component streams, fails spectacularly at 50%.
But the environmental section isn't all bad news. They do have some strong metrics that support that overall 80% score.
That's true. Energy consumption score is 81%.
Which is a crucial nuance. What does that tell us?
It tells us Hoken Tech is excellent at efficiency. The technology they use, maybe high-efficiency servers or sophisticated power management systems, is working well. They're good at using every unit of power they draw.
But
because their absolute volume of activity scaled up so dramatically, their total consumption and therefore their total Euro footprint still exploded. Efficiency multiplied by massive scale is still a huge impact.
And they got a near-perfect score in mobility, 100%. That's a demonstrable success.
Undeniable proof of concept. A perfect score in mobility means they've effectively managed the carbon impact from employee and business travel.
So that's likely remote work policies, public transit incentives?
Exactly, or a really well-managed fleet, maybe all electric. This shows they can execute perfectly when they prioritize it.
So environmentally, what we have is a company with superb planning and efficiency.
81% on energy, 100% on mobility.
But they are functionally failing at asset management, that 50% on circularity, and controlling the absolute volume of their operations, which led directly to that critical plus 212% carbon spike.
It's a tale of two environmental companies, really.
It is. Okay, let's shift gears. If the environmental pillar showed us a hardware and scaling problem, what do the social and governance pillars tell us?
They show us a persistent internal human challenge, despite having some really high scores externally.
Okay, so the overall social sustainability score is 78%, which is strong. But when we look at the components, one metric just jumps out, doesn't it? It's so much lower than the rest.
It does. Human capital score is just 63%.
63%. For a knowledge-based tech company, that is a massive red flag.
It is. In this sector, human capital is your primary source of value. It's your IP, your innovation. This low score suggests systemic gaps in critical people processes, employee development, retention, succession planning, maybe just general morale.
It really begs the question, how can a company achieve an advanced status when the engine of its business, its people, is scoring so low?
Right. Its 63% suggests a high risk of attrition, potential skill gaps developing, difficulty recruiting top talent who look at these metrics.
It creates internal instability.
It does. But this weakness is contrasted so sharply by the pillar's massive external strengths. Hoken Tech is an excellent partner and community member.
Yeah, social capital is 89%. That's nearly perfect.
And that score indicates excellent relationships with the outside world, local stakeholders, community involvement, local partnerships, corporate philanthropy. They are deeply embedded and valued where they operate.
And that extends to their clients with a 90% score in customer relations.
90% score. So that means high commitment to clients, responsible service delivery, ethical product development, strong satisfaction.
So if you synthesize the social pillar, Hoken Tech is this stellar, high-trust external partner.
90% with customers, 89% with community.
But internally, they are struggling to support and retain the very talent that makes those external relationships possible.
That's 63% in human capital. It's a common organizational paradox, isn't it? Prioritizing the external image over the internal investment.
Let's move to governance sustainability, which also scores 78% overall. And governance is often seen as the backbone of ESG, right? Accountability, compliance, leadership.
And here, Hoken Tech performs brilliantly in one specific area.
The perfect score.
They have a perfect score, 100%, in information and transparency in commercial relations. For a tech company dealing with complex digital transactions, maybe blockchain or data-intensive services, this 100% score is absolutely critical.
What does that 100% mean for the listener? Why should they care?
It means total trust. It confirms Hoken Tech's unwavering commitment to accountability with partners and customers, data handling, service levels, financial operations. In an era where digital trust is constantly eroding, achieving perfect transparency is a huge competitive advantage.
It's a huge pillar supporting their claim to advanced status.
Absolutely.
And we see other strong governance metrics, too. Communication is 85%. Innovation is 80%.
Right, which suggests their messaging around sustainability is robust, and they're actively trying to incorporate sustainable innovation into their business model.
But let's tie this back to that human capital problem. We see a strong score of 84% in training and updating.
And this creates a genuine paradox when you put it next to the 63% human capital score.
How can the training system be strong, but the overall people system be weak?
It suggests that the availability of training is high. The courses are there, the budgets are approved, staff are keeping current.
But that doesn't translate into overall employee strength or stability.
Exactly. Maybe the training is fantastic, but the benefits are poor, or the career path is unclear, leading to high attrition. The high training score suggests the problem isn't a lack of opportunity.
It's something else.
It's potentially a failure of management structure or internal equity that causes people to leave or prevents them from feeling valued enough to stay and apply that training.
So the sub-scores are telling a far more complex, nuanced story than the overall 78% suggests.
Absolutely. And it brings us to the inevitable conclusion. The gap is in action, not intent.
Which leads us right into the process gap.
This section, for me, is the single most important analytical insight in the entire report. Sustainability isn't a state of being. It's a process.
Right.
And the report measures Hoken Tech's ability to manage the three primary phases of that process: plan, implement, and measure.
And the overall results are just brutally clear. Across all pillars, they score. Planning at 90%, measurement at 91%, and critically, implementation at 67%.
Just look at that delta. Look at the gap between strategy and action. Their ability to blueprint a perfect sustainability strategy and set ambitious KPIs is nearly flawless at 90%.
And their ability to track the data, measure outcomes, perform audits, that's also impressive at 91%.
But their capacity to translate those beautiful blueprints into completed, functioning, real-world projects, the doing falls short by a massive 24 percentage points.
That 67% implementation score explains everything. It explains the volatility, the low sub-scores we've already seen. They are an incredibly intelligent organization, a high IQ company, you could say, but they suffer from a debilitating action deficit.
It's a great analogy. If sustainability were a construction project, Hoken Tech hired the best architects, that's the 90% in planning, and the most rigorous inspection firm, the 91% in measurement.
But the construction crew
itself, the 67% in implementation, is slow, error-prone, or constantly short on tools. And the resulting building, their actual environmental performance, will inevitably be flawed.
And this flawed construction is most critical in the environmental sphere, which saw that 212% euro spike. Let's look at the environmental process management capacity specifically. This is where the tension just peaks.
In environmental planning, Hoken Tech scores a perfect. It's 100%.
100%.
The perfect score. This means they have a flawless strategic vision for energy use, waste reduction, carbon mitigation. They know exactly what they should be doing to be the perfect environmental citizen.
But what's the implementation score?
The corresponding environmental implementation score is the lowest process score in the entire assessment, 61%.
61%, that is organizational paralysis.
It is. They know exactly how to achieve perfection in circularity and co-euro reduction, yet they struggle the most to execute those perfect plans. This 61% implementation rate is the direct mechanical cause of the 50% circularity score and that catastrophic plus 212% carbon spike.
The plan is perfect. The action is failing.
And the other pillars, while not as dramatic, they reinforce this systemic issue. Social process management sees planning at 92% and measurement at a perfect 100%.
But implementation is only 70%.
And that 70% in social implementation is directly linked to the 63% human capital score. They plan robust employee growth programs. They track attrition perfectly.
100% measurement.
But the execution of those retention or development programs falls flat at 70%.
And the same pattern in governance process management. Planning at 83%. Measurement at 100%, and implementation at 67%.
That range from the low 60s to low 70s, that seems to be the organizational action boundary. Hoken Tech simply struggles to execute its strategic vision.
And they struggle the most when that vision involves changing physical environmental processes.
So the overall meaning for you, the listener, is this. Hoken Tech is validated as a company of high integrity and high strategic ambition. They are masters of strategy and masters of data collection.
But their Achilles heel is turning that sophisticated theory into consistent, real-world practice.
Especially when they're faced with the volatile growth that's inherent to the tech sector.
It's the classic corporate dilemma, isn't it? The beautiful strategic document is absolutely failing to hit the concrete wall of scaling operations. So we've identified the where circularity, human capital, and the how implementation failure. Later, we need to look at the why.
The underlying cause that explains this execution gap.
Okay, but before that, let's look at how they stack up globally. Beyond their internal metrics, Hoken Tech is benchmarking itself against the world's most important sustainability frameworks.
Right, this shows their commitment to playing on a global stage. We need to look at their compatibility with the UN Sustainable Development Goals Agenda 2030 and the Global Reporting Initiative, GRI.
Starting with the SDGs, the report says Hoken Tech is compatible with 11 out of the 17 goals.
11 out of 17. That is a strong alignment. It suggests their core business mission intersects meaningfully with over half of the global targets for 2030.
Let's quickly run through the alignment. We're talking about health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean energy, decent work, industry, and innovation.
Reduced inequalities, sustainable cities, responsible consumption, climate action, life on land. It's very comprehensive scope.
It tells us their mission isn't just focused on one area. They've consciously broadened their alignment to cover social development, economic justice, and environmental stewardship.
Which is exactly what a modern advanced company should be doing.
But let's look at the goals they are not aligned with. These include no poverty, zero hunger, clean water and sanitation, life below water, and partnerships for the goals.
For a tech company, the absence of goals related to, say, marine ecosystems or agriculture makes sense. Their direct impact there is minimal.
But the most fascinating omission, given their high social capital score of 89%, which means strong local partnerships,
is the absence of alignment with partnerships for the goals 17.
Exactly. It's a great insight. How can that be?
Well, their high social capital suggests they are excellent at local relationships and community engagement. But the lack of a formal checkmark for SDG 17 suggests they haven't formalized those arrangements into a cohesive global mission or strategy.
So they're good at doing partnerships locally, but maybe less good at reporting and strategizing them globally?
Right. It shows a focus that is excellent locally, but still needs to broaden into a formalized global strategic mission to truly cement that advanced status.
And the absence of alignment with clean water and sanitation is also notable.
Especially given their moderately low 65% score in water consumption.
Absolutely. If they want to shore up that 65%, aligning with SDG 6 gives them a clear strategic roadmap and an accountability framework to improve their water management. Okay, moving on to the Global Reporting Initiative, GRI, the international gold standard for disclosure. This is vital for any company that wants institutional investment.
And the 2025 compatibility scores are highly informative. Social is at a perfect 100%. Governance is strong at 83%.
And environmental?
Lagging behind at 74%.
That 100% social compatibility is a massive achievement in accountability and transparency. It means everything they measure about their employees, customers, and community impact is perfectly aligned with the world's best practices for reporting that data.
And as you'd expect, the environmental score is lowest at 74%. This directly reflects the actual performance struggles we've been talking about.
The 212% Euro spike, the 50% circularity score, the 61% environmental implementation capacity.
It's harder to report accurately on a domain where you are actively failing.
But there's a positive trend embedded within that 74%, isn't there?
Yes. The report notes that their environmental GRI compatibility actually increased from 70% in 2024 to 74% in 2025.
And this is a perfect window into the corporate mindset.
It is. Even while they were struggling immensely with reducing their actual carbon footprint, they were actively and successfully investing in improving their environmental reporting capability.
They are committed to measuring the problem better, even if they haven't solved it yet.
It shows intentional, focused effort in data governance, a belief that better data will eventually lead to better action.
But that still leaves us with that 67% implementation deficit. We need to find the core reason why they can plan perfectly and measure perfectly, but struggle so much with the doing.
And that brings us to their roadmap for the future. The beauty of this assessment is that Hoken used it as a diagnostic tool.
Right.
The lowest scores, the clearest deficits, they immediately became the foundation for their 2026 operational roadmap and public commitments.
So they're strategically attacking the exact weaknesses we've identified.
They are.
First, they committed to focusing on circularity, stronger practices for asset management, procurement, and reuse.
That's the direct challenge to that rock-bottom 50% circularity score.
Second, they committed to improving environmental implementation, turning those 100% plans into owned, time-bound projects.
The necessary response to that debilitating 61% implementation score. They're acknowledging the action deficit.
And third, focusing on human capital, strengthening training, growth, people processes, a direct response to the 63% employee score.
The roadmap is intelligent, it's data-driven, it's perfectly aligned with the findings.
But the truly defining insight, the root cause that links the 100% planning to the 61% implementation failure,
is found in the section analyzing their use of digital technology to support these sustainability processes.
Okay, let's break down that digital adoption by pillar, because this is the why behind the execution gap.
In social digitalization, Hoken scores excellent. Optimo. They have made significant investments in automated digital solutions that support social sustainability performance.
Which is why they can track social impact perfectly, that 100% measurement score.
Exactly. Their systems for tracking employee satisfaction, diversity metrics, community engagement, they're state-of-the-art and likely automated.
In governance digitalization, they score medium. Medio.
Moderate investment. The report says they need further actions, probably to automate compliance checks or risk assessments.
And now, for the critical failure point. In environmental digitalization.
The score is poor. Scorso.
Poor.
The report states bluntly that the company has not invested in digitizing these crucial environmental processes, and this is cited as requiring a long-term plan for performance improvement.
This is the ultimate irony, isn't it, for a high-tech company operating in the digital sphere?
It is. They're masters of digital innovation for their external products. They use digital tools flawlessly to manage their reputation and their people.
But they are stuck in the analog age when it comes to measuring and controlling their core environmental impact.
This poor score is the bottleneck. Think about that 61% implementation score. Their perfect 100% plan for circularity probably relies on someone manually downloading a server utilization report every week.
And entering the data into a spreadsheet and then trying to spot a trend.
And when the company scales up rapidly, like they did in 2025, that manual process breaks down instantly. There's no automated, granular insight into energy spikes or resource utilization.
They literally couldn't see the 212% surge coming until after the fact.
Right. A lack of automated, real-time, digital environmental tooling means that their excellent plans are stranded. They know what to do, but they lack the automated infrastructure to execute the plan consistently, measure the outcomes granularly, and adjust in real time. This environmental digitalization deficit is the root cause of the action gap.
And to bring all this digital abstraction back down to earth, the report also includes a concrete, tangible local action they took, planting trees.
Yes, Hoken planted 4 Ficus australis small leaf fig trees. It's a very practical local contribution.
And the report provides context on sequestration. They estimate the annual uptake for these 4 trees, once they're established, is in the range of 40 to 100 kilograms of coleoeres per year.
With a central estimate around 60 kilograms per year.
Which is a start, but it's critical to put it in context. They produced 376 kilograms of coleoeres in 2025.
So if the trees sequester 60 kilograms annually, that means they could offset only about 16% of that single year's production. Is a long-term contribution, not a quick fix for the 212% spike.
And the report emphasizes this point precisely. The estimated cumulative uptake over 30 years is, what, 1 to 3 tons of Kawiro? It's a long-term contribution, entirely dependent on keeping the trees healthy.
It's a symbolic act of local stewardship. But the heavy lifting must come from addressing that 61% implementation deficit. The trees are a nice policy move, but they don't solve the core mechanical failure of their environmental process digitization.
Right. Okay, so as we step back from this deep dive, the profile of Hoken Tech is remarkably clear. They are a company of high capability and high strategic intent, certified at the advanced maturity level. They excel at transparency, that perfect 100% score in commercial relations. Their planning capacity is near flawless at 90%.
But their credibility is severely tested by these persistent operational struggles. The company faces a debilitating organizational flaw, the action deficit.
Highlighted by that 67% overall implementation capacity, which just plunges to a critical 61% for environmental goals.
And that weakness is directly responsible for their 50% circularity score, and, most dramatically, that massive 212% surge in co-Euro emissions from 2024 to 2025.
And the single biggest takeaway for us is that technological irony at the heart of their failure. Hoken Tech, a technology company, digitized their social and governance processes flawlessly. Excellent in social digitalization.
But they fundamentally neglected the digital infrastructure needed to measure and manage their environmental impact, resulting in a poor rating for environmental digitalization.
Which leaves their perfect plans paralyzed, unable to keep pace with the volatile reality of corporate growth.
Their 2026 roadmap, focusing on implementation, circularity, human capital, it's the logical and necessary path forward. But that focus on fixing the environmental digitalization deficit is what must bring their operational capability up to the level of their strategic intelligence.
Which leads us to the final provocative thought we want to leave you with. For companies like Hoken Tech, operating in a digital-first economy, the ultimate sustainability challenge isn't about setting goals or even tracking outcomes. The real hurdle is recognizing that sustainability execution is now a digital problem. Is the biggest constraint to genuine environmental change not ambition, but the failure to build the specific software, the specific automated tooling required to monitor, manage, and act on environmental goals in real time consistently while the company scales.
In a digital world, an analog environmental process is guaranteed to fail. Hoken Tech has the perfect plan, but until they digitize the doing, that plan is just a beautiful piece of paper. Something for you to mull over as you consider the true role of technology in driving real, tangible environmental change.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.